What's up traders, Jason Jordanella here, head coach at Responsible Day Trading with another weekly breakdown. Today is Monday the 20th of June. It's a national holiday, the markets are closed in the US, but we're still going to take a look at the markets to work out what our expectations are for the rest of the trading week coming. So let's start as we always do by taking a look at forthcoming news. If you don't know already, you can go to the RDT website, and here we have a news tab. We click and then select market news. So let's take a look at what news we can expect this coming week. Tuesday we have existing home sales. Wednesday we have Fed Chair Powell. Thursday the initial jobs claims, and also Fed Chair Powell again with crude oil inventories. I think Wednesday is going to be a market mover for sure, but the big day is going to be Thursday. So expect a lot of volatility on Thursday, probably Wednesday as well. Friday, new home sales. So that's what we can expect in the market news. Watch out for these news events. If you're not someone that trades the news, be prepared for the volatility to sort of kick in 15 minutes at least before these news events, and at least wait until the market settles down after the news events, when you'll see price action start to slow down and get back to somewhat more normal before you step back into trading on the markets. So let's take a look at the S&P 500 daily chart as we always do. Sort of top-down approach to market analysis to take a look at what's been happening. We are on the ES September contract, September 22. If we take a look at price action here, each bar represents 1 day in the market. I've drawn in some significant areas of support and resistance previously, and what happened last week was we actually broke through that quite a significant support area. We did get a real strong move through there over the last few days. You can see how strong those bars are, all closing to the bottom there on the tick chart. Let me just zoom in a bit more on that so you can see clearly really big strong bars. And there's a huge move really to the downside. Just pulling away from the EMAs looking really sharp angle to the downside and starting to spread apart from each other, indicating a lot of strength to that move to the downside. And we've had a bounce around this sort of previous area of support and resistance. Let's just take a look at some of these areas that can expect some sort of reaction in the price action here. So right now we've broken through the previous area here, and we'd have to call this one as the next major support area, potential support area on the daily, and that's around the 3,500 mark. So some 200 points away from where we currently are, but as you can see, we have the potential to get down that bit further there. We managed to move from 4150 all the way down to 3,600 in the space of around 7 or 8 days. So it's not too far of a stretch of imagination really for us to continue pushing down and revisit this 3,500 area, which I would say the more significant support area, and really where it looks to me that price is heading, if not at all further. So in terms of what the MACDs are doing, we can see a lot of strength here. We just pushed straight through the Bollinger Bands, and we did put a lot of strength on the MACD, stayed on the outside the whole time on those Bollinger Bands. We're now approaching an area where we had some previous support in terms of MACD reaction. It's an area that we are in a sort of oversell territory down here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I would expect some sort of reaction as we approach this. Now this might line up quite nicely with the new expected support area. We might overrun it somewhat, but you can see this other crazy looking run on the MACDs that we had back in April. It's not impossible for this to break straight through and continue down. Let's see what happens. Right now MACDs are on the outside, showing strength to continue to the downside. We may get a little slowdown as we approach this previous area we bounced off of and retraced off of, should I say, back to the EMAs a couple weeks back. Let's have a look at the 10946 from a more zoomed in perspective. So as far as the 10946 goes, so we're looking at around about 4 or 5 days of trading. You can see that we have put in multiple support and resistance areas, and we are moving in a sideways channel for sure. Recently today, price has just broken out of those previous highs, moving outside the extremity of this channel. So we'll see what happens from there. We could expect the potential for it to pull back, find some support and continue if we're going to make a move to the upside, or this is potentially just a washout move to the upside when there's going to be a lot of liquidity in this area. This is an area where we can expect to find a lot of retailer stops. There's also another area just above it, so we may push up to here around 37 35 or further. If this doesn't have enough legs in it to continue to the upside, then we can expect to start to pull back into the channel, the upper extremities of the channel, and find some support down here, a bit of resistance up here, something like that. As far as the information we're getting from the MACDs goes, let's take a look a bit closer at that now. You can see that we're putting in a bit of a, from a higher time frame perspective, a bit of a wedge pattern here on the MACDs. We'll run it there, so we'll go with that. It looks like we've basically broken out of that dynamic resistance in the form of a wedge. We don't actually have any divergence in terms of what the MACDs are doing right now, so everything is actually in tune with MACDs and the price action. Okay, so let's take a look at the 1597, our main trading chart, much more zoomed in perspective to what's been happening today and during the pre-market. Very little price action since the market has closed, but you can see we did have this big strong push break through the EMA crossover here, the 52 and the 144, pushing up and extending away from the EMAs, putting back, putting a bit of support off the fast EMA, and then this quite a good extension to the upside, breaking this previous resistance and support area here. We do have another area just behind it here. If I just take a look at that side by side with the 1597, you can see we do have this other area up here. We've broken through this quite significant resistance area, at least in terms of more immediate price action, and there is a potential to really reach up and test this 37.35, some 20 points away from where we are now. Obviously the potential to break through this area as well and wash out these early breakout traders to the downside. So let's see what happens in terms of the MACDs on the 1597. We're getting a really good color change. We do look to be overbought in terms of where we are in price and in relation to the MACDs. So we are getting some divergence here across the MACDs and the price action across the corresponding price action here. You can see we've moved much stronger than the MACDs has. We're also getting a color change on the MACDs, on the BBs here, strong white change, indicating at least in the immediate term some change in sentiment to that move to the upside, and we got a bit of a pushback here. So there is the potential, at least in the short term, for price to revisit this previous support area and maybe move down to something like this, which could correspond with the EMAs also. So it would correspond. It's just around that same area there. So we could just bounce off of here. We'll see where it goes from there. We'll take a look at the pre-market price action before trading tomorrow and obviously reassess things. But hard to know exactly how it's going to play out overnight. It looks like it's going to be an interesting week. Potentially we may have hit a bottom in this current move to the downside, and we've got like a double head and shoulders. Could be a reversal, could be more continuation to the downside. I think that given that we've got such a strong move to the downside, and we've got to keep an eye on what the BBs are doing on the daily and keep aware of the fact that there is areas below here that are quite significant in terms of previous price action. So I would not be surprised to see a continuation to the downside here before we start to slow down and maybe go a bit sideways, get a bit of sideways price action and consolidate down there. The alternative scenario is we start to pull back towards the EMAs because we are so far extended away from them. It's quite unusual to see. If you look at normal price action, we very rarely pull away from the EMAs in great distances before long. We're quickly revisiting the EMAs. That's what happened last time around a few weeks back, and I see the potential for that to also happen again. So there's trading to be done, looks like, in both directions potentially, so keep an eye out, do your market analysis. All right guys, so that is it for me for the weekly breakdown. I hope you have a great week's trading, and if you need to reach out to us, you can find us across all social media and also at the website responsibledaytrading.com. I hope you have a great week. Take care and stay profitable.